Tuesday, December the 13th of 2022. We do have a quorum. We have one member who is en route and will hopefully be joining us shortly. So we want to thank those of you who are in attendance with us today. Thank you for your interest in the State Board of Education. I don't think we have any media folks present. We do have some guests with us, and we're happy to see Ms. Manus and Mr. Kelly with us this morning. Next order of business to get started here is approval of our minutes from our last meeting, which was on October 11th. Is there any objection to approving the minutes as presented? Hearing none, they are approved by unanimous consent. Next is the agenda for today. And Ms. Hazelwood, we need to address an item on there. So the floor is yours.
Yes, Chairman Walters, I'd like to ask that you amend the agenda for the one item, not for approval, but rather for information and discussion by P&L.
Right, so item one, which is the item for unencumbered time. Do I have a motion to change that from a action item to an information item?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. And the motion carries. So with that, now we'll go back, and now I will ask for a motion to adopt the revised agenda. Do I have a motion for that?
I make a motion, we adopt the revised agenda.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. And the motion carries. I don't think we had anybody sign up for public comment for today. So we can get right down to business. I guess we will, since we've moved the other item for information, let's do the information item first, then we'll do the action item next. So our action item is request for approval of the 2022 statewide faculties capital, I guess it would be facilities, capital needs report. And who's going to present that for us this morning?
Is someone come from the Office of School Facilities?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I did not realize you were first.
Yeah.
Well,
you're
Wayne
first.
was gonna. they were
Wayne
gonna
is
try-
on, right?
Yeah, we have a little bit of issues. We almost got.
All right, so we got,
Okay.
got some
Do you wanna go
technical
ahead and take-
difficulties. So we're going to switch our order here. And
gonna
I'm
pivot.
sure with unanimous consent from the committee members, we will switch over to the information item for unencumbered time. And we know who's presenting that because she's walking up to the podium.
Mr. Chairman, members, thank you for having me. Good morning. I've put a document at your desk, which you have seen before. And I've also mentioned it took me a very long time to get started on this, so I need some help kind of improving it, which is why we also moved it kind of for information discussion. So you see the bill, Act Number 176, the Senate Bill 946 for unencumbered time. So as a state board, we need to come up with a model policy. So I have, with the help of Patrick Kelly, I have come up with some bullets for us to look at. There's two things I need your help with moving forward to kind of complete this document. And then also in January, we'll present it to the full state board and hopefully approve the model policy. We did go to the superintendent's meeting in November, I think it was November. And we had a really good discussion of unencumbered time there. So again, I kind of tweaked some stuff with that discussion as well. A lot of districts have started talking about it. A lot of school districts already do this with lunch breaks and things of that nature, but I think a lot of them too are waiting to see kind of what you all come up with as well. So I can go through this. I know we've kind of talked about it a little bit. I've also gotten input, like I said, from Patrick and SCASA as well. They've seen it, Beth Phibbs' group. If you would like for me to send it to anyone else, please let me know to get some feedback. I'm happy to do that. We can send it to the full state board ahead of time. That's up to y'all how you want to do that. But so the key points are we really need to make sure that the school districts understand that these 30 minutes have to be during the regular school day. You cannot add 30 minutes after school, for school. It's got to be between 7:30 and 2:30 or whatever the hours of your school day are. So that first bullet It's probably a little too wordy, but that's what that says. Another point is that IEP meetings cannot be held, any other team meetings, professional development meetings cannot be also within these 30 minutes. Managing and transitioning of students, so when they're switching classes, switching lunch, recess, those 30 minutes cannot be between those times either. I talked about expanding the workday. Another thing that also got brought up is if there are a teacher shortage in the building that day, there's an emergency, fire drills, things of that nature, and they don't get to have unencumbered time that day, we've also got some language to cover ourselves there. So if you flip to the last page, this is where I need y'all's help, and this is kind of where we can have an open discussion. We have to come up with consequences for the principal if they don't comply with unencumbered time. And then also establish a plan if compensation is needed for those unexpected circumstances. So if they don't get to have the 30 minutes, do we compensate them? We kind of have to come up with a plan for that. So those are the two things I need your help with.
Let's open the floor for discussion on that from our committee members. My thoughts on the consequence is that the consequence needs to comply with the district's HR policy anyway, so that, if there's a progressive scale already in place that starts with informal counseling, written warning, formal reprimand, that sort of thing, that it should follow that, but it should be progressive, so if it's a repeated pattern of conduct, the consequences get more severe, was my thought on that. Anybody else?
What do some of the other places that were used kind of to look at examples of places already doing this, what are they doing as the consequences? Do you know?
I do not know, so I try to look
That's what
at
I wanna
other
look.
states to kind of see what they do. And I know y'all have seen this too, but like North Carolina does a duty-free lunch. Georgia does like a 30-minute duty-free lunch as well. So I didn't really have a lot to go off of in that aspect.
I wonder too, one thing for us, I know, in my district, we have had discussions even with our teacher forum, talked about it, what it might look like. And we do have a planning every day. The concern for us is that within that planning, you have IEP meetings, sometimes 504 meetings, but they also don't want all those after school either, and it would be scheduling difficulties. But I know you're right, so many of the districts are either piloting something or at least having those discussions with their staff members. I think for us, what we're looking at trying to do, and we're trying this second semester, but where we narrow down what days you can have an IEP or 504 meeting during your planning time. And on those days, we do a duty-free lunch. And then those other days, you have a planning time that's not, that's unencumbered. Because that way we could work it out. For us, a duty-free lunch, we just couldn't cover that every day. And I think that's the reality for so many people. But I know that the superintendents are having those discussions in our meetings as well, just like the meeting you were at in November, and trying to do different things to work out what might work for them. But I know one of the things I want to do before our next meeting at least is try to see what some of those other states that already have something in place are doing as their consequence, or if it becomes a part of like the compliance checklist we do each year, that kind of stuff.
And I can, we have two law clerks. We can have law clerks do an
that would be-
unencumbered time check that, they're more savvy. Not
That
that
would
they're
be
not
great.
savvy, but they can do a search quickly and find every
Yes.
state that says unencumbered time and.
That would be
what the
great, and then we
consequence-
could
we'll have
see
that- We'll have that
examples.
information for you in January.
Okay, thank
Or
you.
before- Prior, as soon as I can get them to do it.
Thank you.
So for clarity, if the teacher already has a planning period every day, that is considered the unencumbered time. We're not talking about a 30-minute additional.
Well, it can't be, well, I'm sorry, I'm speaking for you.
No, you're exactly right.
Yes.
If they already have that 30 minutes in place, then you're good to go.
But it won't count if they have like PLCs during that time, IEPs, 504s, and that's the tricky part because you do so many meetings during that time that you'd have to be careful. It can't count if you're doing those things.
And I know usually there is one day of the week where you would not have a planning period. So on that particular day,
They need to figure out a
You have to
30-minute
plan.
unencumbered time.
now, and I haven't had time to read through all of the bullets, but just to make sure, is there anything in here that says, as the principal, so I can give Ms. Stapleton her 30 minutes, I'm going to have to get Ms. Frierson to watch her class? You see what I'm saying?
So the third bullet talks about that a little bit, but I can make that a little bit more clear.
Because I could see that.
I could see that as well. I didn't really consider that. But because we did, add in the transition of students, but we probably need to put in something a little bit more clear. If this teacher is out, what do we need to do with yes, ma'am, I agree. Thank you.
One of the things that came up when I was speaking with some superintendents about it, and this seems like it's more going to be an issue for elementaries and middle and high, is that, for instance, if they were trying to give the teachers the lunch period is unencumbered time, the lunch periods aren't 30 minutes.
Right.
So what do you do with that?
And we had that discussion during
Yeah.
the superintendent's meeting. They're trying to find those 5, 7, minutes to make the lunch period 30 minutes.
And I know some expressed concerns I may have to you as well, is that, will this ultimately wind up in extending the school day 5, 10, 15 minutes, so the lunch periods get expanded to accommodate the 30 minutes?
Yeah. Any thoughts on compensation if they don't get the unencumbered time? Again, I couldn't find, and we can maybe ask the law clerks to look into that as well, kind of see, that's just a weird kind of like, does it count, do we do it like day by day? Kind of how does that look?
Well, and who monitors compliance?
Right.
What's the reporting mechanism going to be? I didn't get my time today, add 30 minutes to my compensation.
Right,
Then you also get into probably FLSA at some point with it too, is that now if they're beyond 40 hours, do they get time and a half?
And then you also have that area where you're determining if something meets the criteria for extreme and unavoidable.
yes.
Different people have their own interpretations of
Right.
that too, so it's just being very careful with that.
Yeah.
And for the one section that is penalties for the local school board, part of that is going to require due process. You're going to have just what you've talked about, the notice of, we find that you have failed to provide, and they're going to have an opportunity to come in and say just what you've said. But we did have an extreme emergency. We had a fire alarm. We had, flu go through the building, whatever it might be. There's going to have to be an opportunity for due process. So that really requires, separate and apart from the policy you have, that you will eventually adopt, thank you, can't come up with it, we'll have to tie that to the to the hearing policy that we have in place already. We have a hearing policy in place for a myriad of weird cases, and this would be in that weird case. Because if we get to the point that you have to bring in a school district because they're violating unencumbered time, that will be an anomaly, I hope. But I just put that out there, that it needs to be tied to the hearing policy that we already have in place. But not because I think that's a great suggestion on the principal, on the individual. If you are going to tie it to the school district's HR policy, that has due process built into it.
Other questions or comments? So it sounds like our next steps are going to be, is that now with the help of the law clerks and other folks, you're going to do some additional research and hope to have a draft to come back to the committee at the January meeting, when Dr. Stapleton will be sitting in this chair. But then most likely, if she and the other committee members see fit, it probably does not fit the criteria for a consent agenda item, and therefore would get passed on to the full board at that meeting.
Sure.
So, does other members agree? That sounds kind of like the plan of action on this?
I agree.
Okay. Very good. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
All right, and now we can go to our action item. And I see it looks like we have Mr. Stokes online, or at least something with his name is online. Let's see if we can get him. Why don't you come on up and we'll get started, and then if we get him unmuted or reconnected and whatever the situation is, we'll have him jump in.
Okay. Well, I'm Teresa Penny. I'm with the Office of School Facilities. Sorry Wayne couldn't be here today. This is our report. I handed it out to each one of you. It's our every 3 years by December report that our capital needs report that's due every 3 years. And it's due every 3 years, but it's a 5-year period that we go through, just kind of projecting what's going to be needed, new schools and whatnot. And what this report summarizes is when it was due in 2019 through the next 5 years, kind of like a brief summary of what happened, what we spent, what we didn't spend. And then we did it from the districts, I might hear Wayne. Our current numbers. And we actually had a really good outcome this year. All of our districts reported this year, so we got a summary from each one of those. So that's really good success. And then we also have a comparison of what we projected from 2019 and what we are for 2022 for the next 5 years. And then that's it. So kind of go through that. You can see in our table 1, the I bullet just goes through like what new schools we were going to be needing, and that cost, renovations, additions, how many relocatable units we're going to need because we're growing so much. Student populations also included in that. And then line D is kind of that overall estimated amount that's we projected. And then it has it broken down by each year, what was the cost. And then our last little F there is the funding shortfall. So that's that line D minus E, what we needed and what was spent. So if that makes sense. And then we go to our 2022 report, and it goes through all those same numbers, what we think we're going to need, the costs for all that for the next 5 years, that estimated total, and then it goes through, again, line E, all those numbers each year that we think that we're going to need and spend, and then the shortfall as well. And then that last page, it compares all of it from 2019 to 2022, and that gives you a really good breakdown of what we think we're going to need and what we thought we were going to need 3 years ago. And let me just note that we did not include inflation from the previous report to this current report. We just kept the numbers as was, and we know that might make a little bit of a difference. But that's kind of it in a nutshell. Do y'all have any questions or concerns?
Questions?
Well, that was easy.
That was easy. So since this is an action item, do we have a motion to approve?
I make that motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Right.
Any
Thank
opposed,
you.
no? The motion carries. Thank you. All right, so I believe that would conclude our business with the exception of that item, if there's a motion to place that on the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to
Okay,
place it on the
we have a
consent.
motion to place the request for the facilities report on the consent agenda. You have a second?
Second.
You have a second? Any discussion? All those in favor vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. And the motion carries. And with that, having no other business, this committee will stand adjourned.